Ciao, my loves. Welcome to Drawing Down the Stars. This is Gemma with your new moon, new year, and new month reading. This is Martius, the first month of the new year. Now, the new year is marked by the same month in which the vernal equinox or the spring equinox will occur. This episode is going to be a little bit different. Let me just preface by saying there's so much occurring from the planetary influence, from the stars, and really the application on a spiritual standpoint. So I've decided to make this into two parts. We'll do this part into the new moon reading, the application spiritually, what is really unfolding with all of these forces, how to apply them, because primo, right? The universe occurs within you. Now, second one, we will tap into the star placement, a little bit more about the ritual, what occurs, and understanding the application from the agricultural and the festive aspect from the ancients. Allora, andiamo. Let's go. This is lunation number 1264, and it occurs on February 28th at midnight or 00:44 minutes. That's in UTC, London, England, or Greenwich time. Just convert that for your location. The moon and the sun will meet together in Aquarius at 15 degrees and 27 minutes in the lunar mansion of Shatabisha. This lunar mansion is very polarizing, and it's going to give us an indication of what unfolds for the year. So because this is the new month that begins the new year and thusly the new cycle, that means this Aquarian energy, more precisely Shatabisha, is going to unfold over the next year until the next until the next spring equinox. So we have this very innovative, very stirring, very polarizing energy that is going to occur. Now, the first month, this month of March, there's a lot of shakeup. And there's going to be a lot of shakeup until June. You'll kind of feel like you're getting a little bit more of your bearings in July. So Shatabisha represents karmic rectification. And this year is really going to be marked by harmony. There's going to be challenges that are intended to unite you with your higher goal. Now, a lot of this has been stirring, and I've kind of been talking about, I have been talking about it for the previous months. This is essentially going to work karmic past, but your desires, but it's really the nodes and how we are utilizing our universal forces, how we are collectively, individually, how are we utilizing our own life force? How are we operating within this time, space, reality? Because that all takes a real big shift. And it's going to take a real big shift this month. And you know what? I know a lot of you have been feeling it. A lot of you have been feeling stirred in your life, new directions, new purposes. The writing is on the wall. You're starting to read it. You're starting to see a shift collectively and as well as individually. We're seeing a shift in government structures. We're seeing a shift in world structures, valuation, karma, truth. All of these things are going to be revealed. Shatabisha is the light within the dark, a disassociation, a disintegration of things. Now, it's marked by both trials and tribulations. We see breakdowns sometimes it's ancient texts will reference it as litigation. Some of you will go through litigation, but I want to break that down. Litigation is also a structure of order of law in which that contract needs to be respoken of or readdressed. So let's take that into the spiritual standpoint. When we have structures and frameworks within ourself and our collective world, primarily within the mind, and that gets restructured. So new energy is going to move towards what you value and what your soul is about. Here's where we have this stirring of desire. Desire is less of the instant gratification. It's actually evolved a little bit more to what's the purpose? What's where's the heart behind it? What am I moving towards? What am I creating? So rest assured that when you overcome your challenges, hear me, when you overcome your challenges this year, it's all supposed to unite you to your higher goal. Attainment here is into fruition of your efforts, fruition of desires. Now, because Shatabisha is unfolding this year, let's dive in even further. This energy is, of course, as I mentioned, Aquarius, and I'll talk about the constellation in the next episode. But it is as I mentioned, a polarizing. So for people that have prominent energy in this position, you might be feeling more on integrating your dark side. All of us are integrating the dark. Everything is being revealed. What was hidden before is now coming to light. What we were almost masked into believing is now being seen in its true nature. This is going to stir energy. And remember, energy and emotion energy and emotion is hand in hand. So what once resides and what we were moving towards is no longer. This is going to ask that we as an individual level integrate what we did not know and did not see, and also the darkness. And what I keep getting is like, when you turn on the light and cockroaches run, or you lift up a rock and like all the bugs scatter. It's like that, where you don't get to see what was underneath or hidden unless the light is shown, right? And equally, what exists and hidden validates the light, right? Because the light showing reveals, and it can only reveal if something comes to light. So what is hiding, what has been denied, is now going to see light. It also allows us to integrate darkness, because darkness exists within the light, and light again is known through darkness. Contrast affirms one another. All right, so let's get into the planets, because as I mentioned, this is juicy, right? There is a lot going on. And so if you feel like you're losing your mind, rightfully so. If you feel like the world is shifting, rightfully so. And if you feel like you've hit a new trajectory, wonderful, because all things exist. This new moon, as I mentioned, is going to initiate the theme. We are still in the era of Aquarius. Aquarius marks a point of harmony within and no war. You can see things shaking up. It is going to be intended for a year of harmony. Not to say that harmony does not come with its trials and its fight, like Arjuna. Shatabisha is going to polarize a lot of things. It's going to unearth the dark side. It's also going to offer blessings. And again, it's going to work to unify. As we remove distinction, things become cast aside. We are talking about unity by acceptance. If we unearth everything that is hidden, then there is nothing that is separate, right? Energy in this month will be disassociative. It's meant to be. It's going to create new pathways. And what primarily is occurring is we're working into the astral plane. And for those of you that don't know, amazing learning opportunity. We have 7 subtle planes. We have the physical plane. We have the astral plane. We have the mental plane, the Buddhic plane, the nirvanic plane, and so on. But within each plane, there are 7 subdivisions. Karma, or the lokas, exist within the astral plane. And when I say astral, it's what we call the subtle body, or right, your thoughts and your emotions and consciousness doesn't exist solely in your brain. It exists outside of you, just like memories exist in some time and space reality. So this is really the plane that we're working in is Kamaloka, or a subplane within the astral plane. Now, when we create new pathways and density is removed, what happens is our place, or where we exist in Kamaloka, is defined by the impressions, the actions, and our vibration, or the level of density. You're holding on to more stuff, it gets heavier, i.e. more dense. And stuff is everything from impressions, emotions, actions. When those things begin to break up, there is a natural elevating. You become lighter, you become levity, right? You move into a different plane because you've now opened and released. And now whatever was holding you is now holding you in a framework of structure in which your mental operation functions from. This is what is occurring. So within the subtle body, our karmas, our impressions are beginning to alleviate. Sometimes we want to hold on to that. but know that this is an ego restructuring, and it's beyond ego. It's beyond personality. It is a mental restructuring. And this is how integration occurs, right? So when you expand, you naturally integrate into the next level of what is around you. You are naturally incorporating into a new mode of operation. This is the same thing occurs within our physical world, but it is now occurring more prominently in our astral body, and we are seeing it in our physical world. Hear me. The veil is lifted. There is no more framework and structure. Now the emergence into more of the subtle realm, understanding old fears, mental impressions, past, karmas, integration occurs. We are lifting the rock. This year is going to be empowered with a lot of planetary forces. And in this month alone, oh, Madonna mia. First of all, Venus goes retrograde in Pisces on March 2nd. So hello. That is March 2nd is going to be the third lunar day. And the moon is in Pisces. So we have so much Piscean energy. And when Venus goes retrograde, it's going to stir remember I talked about the desires? That's what's happening. We're just moving those into a higher karmic plane. That's just a relinquish, moving it into the heart. And then on the 15th of March, Mercury goes retrograde. That is going to work more of, when I talk about that elevating of your mind in that mental sphere, what's going to happen is now the subtle realm, your intuition, your creativity, all of those things expand. So now it's the unseen becomes logical. You're almost trusting your instinct. You don't need physical proof for a lot of things. Everybody is going to move into a sixth sense, a higher sense. You're trusting your gut more, and you're moving more into the unknown is known. You don't need proof. And so what this does is expands the mode of creativity, the mode of action, again, innovation, but it's also for a lot of you, it's going to maybe stir how you express yourself on a grander scale because it's no longer refined to a framework. Now, big one is Saturn moves on the 29th into Pisces. And Saturn is the slowest moving planet. It's going to transit for the next 2.5 years. So the next 2.5 years, this year, begins this monumental transformation that occurs. For everyone, collectively, 2.5 years from now, we will be a different human race. And a lot of you have seen it. We're moving in turbo mode. Things are shaking so quickly. Things around us, government structures, humanity structures, everything is shifting. Lines are being drawn, changes in places, spaces. Everything is changing so quickly. Remember, we move towards harmony, but Saturn is the great karmic rectifier. And in Pisces, nonetheless, for those of you with heavy Pisces energy, you're going to feel it more. You are. You know, when we look at energy and sphere and forces, that's just the way it is. You have an extra force in something that is already amplified within you. Your environment has that quality and characteristic. Now we're going to magnify that quality and characteristic. So, of course, if you have Pisces, you're going to feel it a little bit more. I don't want to freak you out, but let me just say that it's a beautiful undertaking. And for many of you, it has been years in the making. So allow the things to unfold and don't hold on to what is flying by you. Like Dorothy in the spinning house, if you know the Wizard of Oz movie. Like, don't cling on to the tree that's going past you because you used to think that it was stability. Like, everything is going to shift and spin. There's going to be a shift in the sense of self. For many of you, this is going to alter your place of residence, right? Because you will reside on a new sphere. Everybody will reside on a new mental sphere. Physically, many of you will shift residence. It might not be this year, but it could be in the next 2.5 years. For some of you where it is prominent and the karma is timing, then yes, it'll be this year. There's going to be new and different jobs. I'm talking about across the board. We're going to see new types of careers emerge. We're going to see new types of frameworks emerge. We're going to see new types of functions and how we operate within our society is going to emerge. New ways of thinking are going to emerge. New ways of interaction with intelligence is emerging. That's AI. That's all of it. New ways of which we execute and elevate and place a higher importance on intuition and creativity is now emerging. So for those of you that are in more of the creative sphere, this is a blessing. It is a new you that is emerging. The first 60 days, I'm not going to lie, is going to be a lot of pressure. Okay, it's gonna be really intense from March to June, and then July is gonna come and it's gonna be a little more alleviated. But condensed energies are all gonna occur within Pisces. But this is an Aquarian year, right? So we move closer to unification. We have Rahu, Ketu, South Node, North Node that are heavily working. These karmas and incarnations are been working in the back end. So it's gonna move you to what you desire, what you trust, and what you turn a side eye to, because you're moving closer into unity within what your soul has been calling you to be. Now, the energy is working on the astral body more precisely. Let's go into Kamaloka, because that's really where I want to devote majority of this reading to. And Kamaloka is a sphere within the astral plane that's located, it's where we reside. And again, where we reside depends on what's comprised within a sphere. There's a lot of mental, old experiences, memories reside in this sphere. This is where we shift planes. This is where a shift in time, space, reality occurs. We're shifting the space in which we reside. And so our reference to time naturally changes, and how we operate within our own framework of time is changing. You can feel things are speeding up very, very quickly. Now, because there are 7 spheres alone, these subspheres within Kamaloka, just a quick, the first 3 are hell. That's what we consider a living hell. That's where past karmas hold negativity or old entities. The 4th is a materially dense sphere. And the 5th one is where we have a radiant expression. This is where materializing heaven occurs. And then, of course, in the 6th sphere, we have more awakened beings. We are moving more prominently to the 5th and hopefully permeating more of the 6th, where we're all wakening up. We are becoming more awakened beings. This shift is a collective shift within spheres. And remember, we all exist within all things. Humans don't exist just in physical form, but we exist in all spheres. All things exist. Now, this is going to be a time free from impressions that create this density, the past that creates you held. Energy is going to work with, there's going to be a hole. You're going to feel things are falling out from under you, or there's an opportunity is also viewed as a hole. Remember, a void is a hole. So everything is going to pour into this hole. It's a new mode. And it's not a filling like a placation. It's more of a restructuring. So the hole now expands and emerges. It almost gets sucked into the light. We won't look to occupy spaces that drain us any longer, and no longer are we dragged into holes that are keeping you stuck. So collectively, we're unifying by rising up. When energies like this stir, it can feel very disjointing, especially in the mental sphere. I mean, that's where it's all occurring. When we look at Venus, the Venus here is going to work to elevate our desires, and Rahu is also currently, North Node is in Pisces. It's working karma as well. Venus is occupying Saturn's lunar mansion in Uttara Bhadrapada. Don't get caught up in that. What I'm saying is there is a deep karmic connection between desires of incarnation as well as karmic responsibility. There's a rectification. Retraction with this energy is key. Because there is a passage between planes or spheres, because Kamaloka is we're looking to expand previous impressions or reincarnate the mind, we have to now retract the mind. The mind is going to go through immense shifts. It's because old beings are separating. It's old impressions are separating, old emotions are separating, things are getting released. There's a collective understanding that starts to happen. And with this, we have a unifying of values, a unifying within yourself and your own values, a unifying of the world. That's no small undertaking. So the mind must be strengthened, and it's going to work, especially with Mercury here, it's going to work to strengthen the creative and intuitive faculties. And this is going to happen in 2 parts. Part 1, the cognitive function. Thinking brain incorporates a greater sense, a greater priority in intuition, creativity, and knowledge of the unseen, as I had mentioned. That naturally is going to expand your mind. You know, if you can consider things that are not in a previous framework, if you can imagine things that were never once before, your mind is in an expansive quality. You're not in a fix the problem based off of the old solution. It is now, what am I going to create from something brand new? This is an Aquarian nature of innovation, but it's an expansion in the mental sphere and residing in a higher sphere. Number 2, when the planes shift like this, when we move from less dense into a higher sphere, or as the 5th sphere, as I mentioned, awakened beings, We start to understand that incarnation comes from the mind. Reincarnation is from the mental sphere. The mental sphere is connected to the universal sphere. And it is the higher pathway in terms of connecting to all things that exist. So when this occurs, there's a shift in emotion, fear, anxiety. It's because we let those bugs crawl out, right? We lifted the rock and now we're seeing what's underneath. And those things, those emotions, those impressions have been accumulated over lifetimes. And they keep one stuck. They keep one closed-minded. So when these become purified, we begin to work in retraction. To work with this nature and the reincarnation of the mind into the spheres, we have to retract our senses. You're going to also hone in your 6 senses. So that means digital detox. That means practicing a day of rest. That means regulating your diet into more chronically rich foods, less processed food, less toxins, more from the earth and nature with its seasons. It is life force that feeds life force. When you retract your energy and your nature of expelling through the dense senses, i.e. speech, touch, sound, all of those things, then your life force grows because it's no longer being used for dense processing of sensory objects. Now you're awakening your 6th sense because that life force draws inward. The retraction is going to elevate your mind. So if you take anything from this reading, digital detox, clean food, fasting, whatever it is, all of it, none of it, practice one, cut the sound, cut the visuals, retract your senses, and make it a habit. Create a new framework. Now, Aquarius is going to innovate, so you also have to innovate your life, innovate the way that you show up. And this lunar mansion is going to reveal everything that is within one. Now, I'm going to end this because we're already going a little over, because the best way to explain this is not through my words, but through Plotinus. And I'm going to read you an excerpt from the Enneads. This is from the Porphyrian books 34 through 45. This is section, "The parts of a manifold unity are apart only for examination," by Plotinus. Perhaps instead of saying that the one is the cause of the other things, we would have to admit that these things are as parts and elements of the one, and that all things form a single nature in which only our thought establishes divisions, so that by virtue of its admirable power, this nature be unity distributed in all things, appearing and becoming manifold, as if it were in movement, and that one should cease being unity as a result of the fruitfulness of its nature. Everything, though it seems different, is one, and we understand it more in its manifestation if it were in movement. And if it were not to create any distinction in action, movement, or identification, we would know it as one. Again, by Plotinus. If we were to enumerate successively the parts of such nature, we would grant to each of them a separate existence, ignoring that we had not seen the whole together. But after thus having separated the parts, we would soon reapproximate them, not for long being able to keep apart the isolated elements which tend to reunite. That is why we could not help making a whole out of them, letting them once more become unity, or rather, be unity. Besides, this will be easier to understand when we shall know what these essences are, and how many are in the genre of essences. For we shall then be able to conceive their mode of existence. And as, in these matters, it is not well to limit oneself to negations, but to aim at positive knowledge, and the full intelligence of a subject here treated, we shall have to make this inquiry. When we separate things, when we make them distinct, it is only now to know them as they are whole, and to reunite them in their unity. We can only reunite them in their unity if we know everything of the essence of which we are working with. That is this energy. Everything that is now separated must come back together. And we are understanding how they've been separated, why they've been separated, be it a mental faculty, an old structure, an identification or a distinction that we have placed upon it within ourselves or in our external world. All of these things are uniting within us and around us. They are moving back into harmony of form. This elevation of intelligence to know the true essence behind is where the mind is going to reincarnate and bring us back into unity with each other and our collective selves. Back into unity with source and whole. I will put this excerpt in the Notion page and also in the description below. And as always, my love, all of your resources will be listed in the description below. I'm going to end it because we've gone a little bit over already, but hopefully with some good nuggets for you. As always, all of my love, tanti tanti baci. See you on the next episode on Wednesday. Ciao a tutti.